Welcome back to Pawpaw Sammy and Alley Bug's YouTube channel. Today we will show you how we maintain our worm beds. Basically it's simple. It's just a matter of checking it out every 2 or 3 days to make sure it's safe. We're trying to teach the young ones how to do their worm beds and compost, anything to help keep the compost out of the landfills. It's not complicated. You'll see how we do ours. And that's just how we do ours. There's hundreds of ways of doing it. In the future, we're doing videos on gardening and soil and how to prepare your beds, etc. It's just so much to discuss. It's going to take a while to get it straight. Thank you. Worms need their bedding. Red wigglers. Night crawlers, they'll go 5-6 foot in the ground. Red wigglers are compost worms. They tend to stay up in the mulch. So they need 5 to 6, 8 inches of mulch in the bed, paper, straw, etc., whatever. And they'll stay in that area and work. And it makes a faster process, cleaner process. The first thing I do is collect the newspapers and mail that comes in, office paper that people give me out of their office. The only thing about office paper, it usually has a lot of plastic in it. So I'm real careful about office paper. If I don't do it myself, I don't like to put it in my worm bin because I know I don't have plastic in my paper. Whenever I got a few minutes to spare, I come out and I'll take my newspaper or whatever and run it through there. It looks like this. Looking at this pine straw, leaves, and grass, you can tell it's been composting for a long time. Look at it. I take this with the shredded paper and I mix it real good. The reason you mix it real good is because if you put shredded paper in there, it will tend to clump when it gets wet. The worms has trouble eating it. It takes forever. Mash it up in this here, run down to Starbucks, grab you a couple of big bags of coffee grounds, pop it in there, mix it all up together, wet it down good, and throw it in your worm bin, and they'll take care of the rest. What I'm doing here is mixing it up. Now, worms' poop is only as good as what goes in up front. And since our videos are based on environmental, we tend to use paper, leaves, grass, food scraps to keep it out of the landfill. But this came from the plants and is going back to the plants. Worm castings is not a fertilizer, it's a supplement. And the plus side of it is it's loaded with plant hormones. Now I'm going to turn this off and pick it up in a few minutes. Also, when you set your worm bin up, you need to add protein. In my case, it's steel cut oats. The reason being, protein, the worms eat the protein, they get full of energy, and they breed faster. They digest the food and breed faster. This stays in the kitchen. When Mama's peeling potatoes or banana peelings or vegetable peelings, it goes in my little compost bucket. From there to my grinder, from there to the worm bin. This is all food scraps, about 12 pounds. This is a pumpkin, what's left of the pumpkin. This is rainwater out of my buckets. What I do is I take and make smoothies. Worms have little bitty mouths, as I've said before. You make smoothies and they can digest the food quick. Otherwise, the food might stay in there long enough to sour. But once you do this, they get it quick. What we put into our worm bin is mostly plant material, paper, cardboard, food scraps, leaves. Some commercial growers do peat moss, with supplements, of course. But our idea is we're trying to help the environment. If I can put 10 or 15 pounds of worm scraps every week in that worm bed, a wheelbarrow load of leaves and chopped paper, which is another 15 pounds possibly, it's not going in the landfill. This is staying in the environment, and it's building the environment back. Run it into a smoothie, pour it into your bucket, and continue on until you have all your food scraps pureed, and you pour it in your worm bin, a long steady stream, and I'll show you that in a minute. This morning, my worms get their morning smoothie. You just sprinkle it in there. And the reason I'm putting it all on this end down here, basically, I just harvested this end. So I'm trying to draw the worms back to this end to get them to working on the bedding. And the bedding is like I said before, you just sprinkle it in there. And the worms will believe me, they will come to it. The greenery you see right there is part of my asparagus I had to trim off this morning with asparagus seeds. So now, my worms have breakfast and a drink of rainwater. One good thing about feeding your worms out of your garden, like my Japanese plums that fell off the tree, is you can get an unlimited supply of Japanese plums, pea bushes, tomato bushes, you name it. It's in there. Thanks for watching. Ring the bell, subscribe, and share, and we will appreciate it. Thank you.